If you watched my review of Oniken Unstoppable Edition, then you already know that I loved it. I felt like it delivered an authentic throwback experience with great gameplay and a compelling story. What you may not know is that I actually like developer JoyMasher's follow-up game, Odallus, The Dark Call, even more than Oniken. Now it's coming to consoles for the first time, and I'm here to tell you that it's one of the best side-scrolling adventure games available on any game system. This is the story of Haggis, a war veteran who spends his nights hunting in order to provide for what's left of his family. But when the village is burned down, Haggis decides to set out on an adventure to find his son. This leads to the discovery that people are turning into monsters, which forces our hero to travel far and wide in an effort to collect all of the shards of the Odallus. While it'd be easy to simply compare Odallus to the classic 8-bit Castlevania games that launched the series, I don't think that does this adventure justice. This is a game about exploring this world and finding the tools you'll need in order to track down each boss and steal their shard. The adventure is split up into 9 different stages, each with their own hidden items and paths to unearth. This is the kind of game where you'll end up going back and replaying the different stages as you unlock new abilities and equip new weapons and armor. And speaking of abilities, Haggis is on the hunt for 5 different items that'll aid in his quest. This includes the ability to push heavy objects, double jump, breathe underwater, and even float through tiny areas. There's nothing necessarily earth-shaking about these abilities, but I love how they're implemented here. This world is a joy to explore, and I loved uncovering all of the goodies. And it helps that the levels are both diverse and expertly crafted. This is a developer that's good at world building and expanding on the lore through the backgrounds, and they're at the top of their game with Odallus. It perfectly captures the spirit of the classic 8 and 16-bit side-scrolling adventure games, all while infusing some of the modern game design lessons we've learned since those early cartridge days. I love how the abilities open up the previous levels, often in unexpected ways. I love how many bosses there are, and the fact that you can drop out of a stage at any time without any consequences. I love that there's a minecart level, because of course there is. I even love how the story plays out, especially at the end. This is a great game. Unfortunately, there are 2 problems that hold me back from giving it a higher score. The first has to do with the button mapping, which is absolutely baffling. Look, I've played a lot of games in my life, so I've seen a lot of different controller configurations, but this one left me scratching my head. On the Switch, you jump with the A button and attack with the Y button. In case you're not looking at a controller right now, those buttons are across from each other. Your thumb doesn't naturally cover those 2 buttons, or you'll have to reposition every time you want to jump or attack. There's absolutely no reason for it to be this way, and it never felt natural. And to make matters worse, there's no way to customize the button mapping. And this is a big disappointment, especially considering that JoyMasher got it right with Oniken. You'll be able to get used to it, but it sure would have been nice to be able to remap the buttons. Also, Odallus suffers from a few annoying technical problems. There are times when the camera will stop following Haggis, making it impossible to see where he is. He'll be completely off the screen, almost as if the camera person fell asleep at the job. There are also times when you'll fall out of the environment and get stuck. And perhaps the most annoying and pervasive problem is when the game will slow down for no reason. There are times when the game will simply chug to half speed, something that can only be fixed if you exit the stage and then re-enter. I hope the developer will be able to address these problems and maybe add a button configuration in a future patch. But even if they never fix these issues, Odallus is a phenomenal adventure that everybody should play. From the throwback pixel graphics, to the epic boss fights, to the catchy chiptune soundtrack. I love almost everything about this game. And best of all, it's challenging without being frustrating. There aren't a lot of cheap hits or bottomless pits, and the gameplay is tight and responsive. This is even more proof that JoyMasher is a developer we should all be paying attention to. Odallus, The Dark Call, not only looks and sounds the part, but it also evokes the spirit and fun of those old 8 and 16-bit adventure games without feeling like a retread. I loved exploring the 9 stages, fighting the bosses, learning all the new abilities, and uncovering all the twists and turns the story has to offer. My only nitpicks involve the button mapping and some weird technical hiccups, but those shouldn't be enough to keep you from discovering one of the best side-scrolling adventure games of all time. Hey, thanks for watching our review. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we post new reviews and features almost every day. Now here's the question I have for you. What's your favorite old school adventure game? I'm gonna let you decide what constitutes old school, so let me see your picks in the comments below. In other news, I'm hard at work on a bunch of reviews, including Game Soup, Pumped BMX Pro, and Toe Jam and Earl 4. We also have a brand new mascot-driven quiz going live on Friday, so I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then.